again, thanks to everyone for coming out this evening. Turn on the microphone. Make sure that's working. There we go. Okay. Thanks again to everyone for coming out this evening as we continue our three-part series in Sefer Yonah. If I were to ask you the question, did the story of Yonah actually happen? Unless you know more about this, you would look at me like I'm out of my mind. Because we never ask that question about any of the Sifrei Tanakh. Did the story actually happen? Was the world created? Was there an Adam and Chava? Did the Mabul happen? Was there an Avram Avinu? Or all these people just fictional characters? Chas v'sholom. We would never ask that question. But for some reason, when it comes to Sefer Yonah, despite the fact that Chazal do learn the story kipshuto, as if it did really happen, there definitely is a stream amongst our Rabbeinu HaKadoshim that understood that the story did not happen in the Pasha Pshat, but rather only in an allegorical fashion. The Mefarshim point out that the Mishnah in Sanhedrin Daf Peites tells us, Hakovesh es nevuaso, somebody who refrains from stating a nevuah that he's commanded to give, misaso b'dei shamayim. He is supposed to die, a misa b'dei shamayim. A tzaddik, a navi, is supposed to give the appropriate tochacha. And if he does not follow Hashem's will in doing so, then he deserves to die. Because that's his tafkid, that's his tachlis in the world. And the truth of the matter is, the Gemara says in Ksubas Daf Kufhem and Beis, Omer Abaya, Hai Tzurva Mirabonon, that young rabbi, the Mirachmin Le Bnei Mosa, that the people of his city like him. Lav Mishum Demali Tvei. It's not because he's such a good rabbi. Ela Mishum Delo Muchoch Lehu B'mili Dishmaya. It's because he doesn't give them enough rebuke in matters of heaven. This is always the balance that every Rav, every Rebbe has to play. Do you tell them when they did something wrong? Or do you let it pass and you hope that they'll get better on their own? Well, the job of a Navi, for sure, when told by a Kadosh Baruch Hu to give Tochacha, is absolute. There is no way out. And therefore, Yonah was Chayav Misa. However, his life in the Pashat Pshat was saved. The Malbim says, because he was willing to give up his life to save Klal Yisrael. He did not just run away. Once we have him in the first parak on the boat, once we have him in the middle of the storm, once the sailors realize through the lottery that it's all about Yonah, he's the problem. He agrees to be thrown overboard to his definite death in order to make sure that he will not give the Tochacha to Nineveh, so that Klal Yisrael at a later point, who would be stubborn and not like getting Tochacha from a Navi and not listen, so that Klal Yisrael would not be punished even further. Like that's working. Okay. Let's try this one. The Abarbanel as well tells us that the gesture of giving up his own life for Klal Yisrael is what allowed Yonah to get those nisim, that the fish would come by and the fish would swallow him and the fish would save him. This is all true within the Pasha Pshat. In fact, the Zohar goes so far as to say that Yonah did die. He fell into the water and actually drowned. Then, because of the act that he did, after his death, which was a necessary punishment, HaKadosh Baruch Hu sent the fish to swallow him, and some sort of a tchias hamesim occurred inside the fish, and then Yonah was saved completely. However, as we said, there are those who will interpret the whole story of Yonah allegorically. They interpret it all as some sort of a mashal. And the most famous one who did this was the Vilna Gaon. The Vilna Gaon in his Perush on Sefer Yonah called Aderes Eliyahu, he says that the Navi here is Romez al Nishmas Ha'adam, is giving us a hint about the neshama of man, as it says in the Zohar. And the idea is, Shesholcha el ha'olam hazeh l'sakin es ha'olam. A person is sent into this world
to fix the world. V'lo dai shelo tikein, and it's not enough that the person does not fix the world. Ela kilkel es atzmo gamkein, but he ruins himself as well while he spends time on this world by sinning. Therefore, what happens? Acher kach sholeach el Gilgul sheni l'sake. A person is sent back a second time to fix those sins that he did the first time. V'tikein, and hopefully he actually fixes it. However, it doesn't always happen so simply. And therefore, the Vilna Gaon, in explaining the opening psukim of Sefer Yonah, Vayhi Dvar Hashem El Yonah, Vayehi, says the Aderes Eliyahu, the Vilna Gaon, was simply Hashem sending a neshama into Olam Hazeh. And Yonah is not a person. Yonah Zuhi HaNeshama. Yonah was sent to this world with a mission. And not only did he not fulfill the mission, he also ruined it and ended up losing his life. Kum lech, says the pasuk, that Hashem tells the neshama, go out from your place that you're resting in Gan Eden, v'lech el ha'olam hazeh, and go to this world, which is represented by Nineveh. That's your mission in the world. Hu olam hazeh. And the psukim continue, Vayokom Yonah livrach Tarshisha. And Yonah ran away to Tarshish, says the Gra, Achar Taivas Olam Hazeh. The neshama runs into the taiva of Olam Hazeh, and the neshama does not survive. Further, in the second parak, which talks about his being swallowed by the fish, Vayiman Hashem dog godol livlo as Yonah, that Hashem appointed a great fish to swallow Yonah, says the Gra, Hu HaKever. That's the grave. A person dies, as Yonah dies in the story and goes into the fish. But then in the third parak, Vayhi Dvar Hashem El Yonah shenis lemor, Yonah emerges from the grave. He emerges from the fish. Shesholeach oso begilgul l'saking, that he comes back as a Gilgul to fix his mistake from before. He sent to Nineveh, a city that was so big that it was mahalich shloshis yomim. The simple pshat, it was so big it took 3 days to walk across it. Says the Vilna Gaon, it's not 3 days to walk across. There are 3 days that the average person in the world takes seriously. Rosh Chodesh Elul, Rosh Hashanah, and Yom Kippur. After that, they start doing everything wrong. That's the way people are. And a hint to it, says the Vilna Gaon, as he loves to use sorts of gematrias, Aryeh sha'ag milo yira. When the lion roars, who's not going to be afraid? Aryeh, he writes as Ari. Aleph, Resh, Yud. Elul, Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur. When there's Elul, Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, people are scared. But after that, often life goes on. That's the way it is. Vayochel Yonah lovo bir mahalach yom echad. Yonah walked into the city one full day, and his walking into the city in the third parak of Yonah, says the Vilna Gaon, that's referring to Rosh Chodesh Elul. And he told them, how long do they have to live? Ad Yom HaKippurim, Arboim Yom. In 40 days, he says, it's all going to be over for you people in Nineveh, you people in Olam Hazeh. She'oz nechtam, because then the din is sealed, im lo yashuvu, if you don't do tshuva. And this is how the Vilna Gaon explains the story of Yonah. It's really just a mashal. It's really just the story of the neshama that comes to this world and doesn't do its job and ruins it, and then has to be sent back again, as Yonah did, go back to Nineveh, sent back again in order to fulfill its mission. I don't know if the Vilna Gaon means it's only a mashal. It could be the Vilna Gaon does understand the story did happen. But he also says that it could be interpreted as a mashal. Once we're talking about Gilgulim, and it's not just a Hasidic thing, even the Vilna Gaon talked about it, it's important to note that we read Sefer Yonah on Yom Kippur at Mincha, and the Mishnah Brura, and specifically the Sha'ar Tzion, tells us a very important lesson from the aspect of Gilgulim that we learn out from Sefer Yonah. In the handout that I gave, in Siman Tov Reish Chaf Beis, Seder Tfilas Mincha on Yom Kippur, Mishnah Brura says in Sifkat and Zayin, Umaftir b'Yonah. The maftir on Yom Kippur by Mincha is from Yonah. Shemidaber min hatshuva. It speaks about tshuva. Va'od, she'ein yicholin livroach min Hashem yisparach. You can't run away from Hashem. Says the Shar HaTzion, the kavanosum, the intent is, Ki ha'adam choshev kama pa'omim. People think many times, I'm such a sinner. I do so many averis. How could I ever make a comeback? How could I ever do tshuva? Many times a person thinks, liyoesh es atzmo, to give up. She'en yochol l'saken b'shum ofen. I'll never be able to fix myself. I'm too far gone. Ve'al ken yisnai tomid b'ofen echad. And therefore, he continues to be on the same path, the evil path, that he has been in until now. He says, so if Hashem says I'm supposed to die because of all my sins, let me die already. It's not worth it for me to try to do tshuva. I'm such a bad person. Says the Mishnah Berurah, the Chavetz Chaim, Avol Tosu. It's a mistake. Shesof dover yeh, in the end it will be Kol masha Kodesh Baruch Hu rotzu minavsho. Anything that Hashem wants for your neshama to fix, sheyisakein, that He wants you to fix, muchruch l'sakein, you're going to have to fix. It just may not happen in this lifetime. V'yovo od pam upa'amayim l'ol mazeh. Your neshama will have to come back again and again to this world. Ubal korcho yuchruch l'sakein. Against your will, you're eventually going to have to fix it. V'im kain, loma lo kol ha'omel. Lomus, why do you have to go through the whole trouble of dying, released by chibud hakever and being buried, ushar tzoros, all the terrible things that happen when the neshama comes out of the body, v'lachser odapam, and come back? Why go through it, says the Chavetz Chaim? Be practical. Just do it in this lifetime. Fix yourself now. Uraya mi Yonah. The proof is from Yonah. HaKadosh Baruch Hu rotza me'ito she'elech v'nabe. HaKadosh Baruch Hu wanted that Yonah would go and give his nevuah. He didn't want to do it, and he ran away to the sea. A place where there wasn't such a strong hashras hashchina. And the way we explain that, we didn't do it in this year, the way we explain that is that nevuah is something like a radio station. In the place of greatest concentration of kedusha, nevuah is easiest to get. Where's the greatest concentration of Kedusha? In Yerushalayim, in the Beis HaMikdash, in the Kodesh Kedoshim, on top of the Kruvim. That's where Moshe Rabbeinu would get most of his nevuah, in the Ohel Moed. Yonah got his nevuah, Chazal say, actually it was during the Simchas Beis HaShoeva, in the Beis HaMikdash. That's where he got the nevuah to go to Nineveh. So Yonah had that nevuah when he was very close to the greatest concentration of Kedusha. He thought that by running away, I'll miss out on the transmission. Hashem can't tell me again to go, because I'm so far away from Yerushalayim, I'll go as far out to sea as possible, and therefore I can't pick up the radio station of that nevuah. So that's what he tried to do. V'ra'inu shenitba bayom, we find that he drowns in the sea, v'nivla b'dog, and he's swallowed by a fish, v'hayosham b'me'av kama yom, and he's inside the fish for a few days, u'lefi hanira, and it would seem, b'vadei lo yuchal iskayim divrei Hashem yisbarach, for sure. What Hashem wanted can't happen. When we call Malcolm, nevertheless, Re'inu, we see Shesof Dover Hoya. In the end, it was Sheritzon Hashem Yisparach Niskayim, that Hashem wanted would happen. V'yelech v'yanabe, and he went back and made the nevuah. Cain, hu ha'adam bin Yonah. It's the same thing with people. No matter what you try to do, Hashem has a plan. No matter what you try to do, Hashem wants your neshama to accomplish certain things in the universe, and you might try to avoid it. But in the end, you're going to have to do it. And if you don't do it in this Gilgul, in this lifetime, Hashem will make you come back and do it in the next Gilgul. So says the Chavetz Chaim, it doesn't pay. And that's part of what we learned from Sefer Yonah. Do tshuva now. Why wait till another lifetime to be misakin the neshama that anyway you're going to have to do? This is what the Chavetz Chaim tells us, that the extraordinary circumstances of Yonah are really also a mashal for our own life. We have the ability to rectify ourselves now. Why wait until later? There are many stories about Gilgulim that really can be scary, but also can teach us tremendous lessons. One of, I think, the most famous stories about Gilgulim is the story of just one penny, where the Baal Shem Tov came to a town in Europe in the 1700s, around the year 1700, and spoke from the big shul, or at least tried to speak. Because the moment that he got up to give his speech, he looked around the crowd and he fainted. A whole hullabaloo, people come with water, they revive him. He gets back up to the bimah, and he says, I'll tell you why I fainted. I have to tell you a story. When two people are born at the exact same hour, the exact same minute, the exact same second, on the same day of the same year, their mazolos will be very similar, and their lives will be very, very similar. And there were two people, Reuven and Shimon, who were born at the exact same time, and they actually grew up on the same block. They actually went to the same yeshiva. They went into the same carpet business, and eventually they got married to women who had the same names. But as time went on, they split up. One went to the north of Europe, and one went to the south of Europe. Reuven, who had gone to the south, his business failed. Something went wrong, and he needed to borrow money. His wife encouraged him to go to his old boyhood friend for a loan. So he went to Shimon for a loan. It was a difficult journey because he had no money. He couldn't buy a ticket to go on a boat. But when he got to Shimon, who is a very wealthy man, when asked, can he give a loan? He said, a loan? I'm not going to give you a loan. He calls his chief accountant. He asks him, how much is my entire property worth? He says, it's worth $3 million. And he writes out a check for $1.5 million. And Shimon gives it to Reuven, his old boyhood friend. Reuven says, thank you very much. He goes home. He's able to rebuild his fortune, his empire. But the wheels of fortune turn. And when that happened, Shimon had a downfall in his business. He had boats with lots of carpet on them. The boat sank. He lost all of his money. His wife convinces him, Shimon, to go visit his old friend Reuven. After all, you helped him in his time of need. He'll help you. And Shimon does so. However, when he arrives at Reuven's doorstep, he finds that Reuven is a miser. And Reuven has no interest in helping anyone, even his old boyhood friend. Reuven gives all sorts of stories. My money's all tied up. I have no cash flow. I can't lend you anything. I can't give you anything. Even $10 to buy himself something for a meal or a boat trip back to his wife and family. Reuven gives him absolutely nothing and pretty much slams the door in his face. Shimon is distraught, but the Malachi Hashores, who are looking down from Shemayim, send a gold coin to fall by his feet. Shimon finds it, and he's able to take that gold coin, invest it properly, turns into a fortune, and he once again becomes a millionaire. On the other hand, when the wheels of fortune turn again, Reuven, the miser, falls apart. His business totally collapses, and he doesn't know what to do. He can't go to the banks for a loan. Nothing's going to help him. His wife says, why don't you go to your old friend, Shimon? Shimon. And he came to me. I gave him nothing. But he had no choice. So that's what he did. He went to Shimon. And when Shimon saw his old friend, he said, forget about what happened back then. I understand. You didn't have the money. You didn't have the cash. It's not a problem. And he asks his chief accountant, how much is his entire fortune worth? $14 million. He writes him out a check for $7 million and sends Reuven on his merry way. And Reuven invests and builds himself up and once again becomes a multimillionaire. By the time that both Reuven and Shimon are 70 years old, Shimon, the tzaddik that he was, helping out his friend, and Reuven, the miser, both died on the exact same day, the exact same hour, minute, and second. They went up to Shemayim. So here they come up to Shemayim, and Shimon, who's a big tzaddik, he comes up in front of the Malachim, and the Malachim say, we're ready to escort you all the way to Gan Eden. And Shimon says, well, where's my friend Reuven going? I'm not going without him. Reuven, you saw what he did during his lifetime. Even after you lent him money, he wouldn't lend you. He's going to Gehenna. And Shimon said, absolutely not. I'm not going to Gan Eden without my friend Reuven. And the Malachim say, this is not the place for heroics. What are you doing? HaKadosh Baruch Hu paskined, therefore, that both the neshama of Reuven and Shimon had to go back down to this earth, with the goal that Reuven's entire purpose in life would be to give one penny to Shimon. And Reuven and Shimon, in their second Gilgul, were born on opposite sides of the world. Shimon was born poor, the poorest of the poor. Reuven was born with a silver spoon in his mouth, extremely wealthy. And Shimon went from garbage dump to garbage dump, trying to find a way to make a living. One day, in a garbage dump, he found on the front page of a newspaper a story about a Reuven from many hundreds of miles away. And something was drawing him to this wealthy man. For some reason, he felt, I have to go there, and I have to beg for money from him. And he makes the very long and troubling and difficult journey all the way to Ruvain, arriving at the town of Ruvain the miser, to find that in this Gilgul, that's what Ruvain's called. Ruvain the miser lives on top of a big hill to make sure that Aniyim can't get up to him. In front of his house is 500 steps, but something is drawing Shimon on. He has to go ask money from Ruvain. He doesn't know that it's his neshama making him do this. And he goes up those treacherous 500 steps. He barely has had a thing to eat all day. He's all out of breath. He gets to the top of the 500 steps. There isn't even a landing. And with his last bit of strength, he knocks on the door, and a butler comes to the door, sees a pauper, and tries to push the pauper out. And Shimon sticks his foot into the door. I'm not leaving. I need to speak to Ruvain. Ruvain hears the commotion. You can imagine him coming out in his silk bathrobe with a pipe coming out of his mouth. And he looks at this pauper and says, do I know you? Do I have anything to do with you? And when they looked at each other for a moment, there seemed to be a hint of recognition in their eyes. But only for a moment. And Ruvain slammed the door shut into Shimon's face, and Shimon had no more strength. He went rolling down the steps, 500 steps, all the way to the bottom. The Malachi Ashari scream out to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, please, this tzaddik Shimon, such a neshama, how can you let him go through such torture? And his neshama was plucked out of him before he hit the bottom step, and he was taken in chariots of fire up to the highest levels of Gan Eden. The Baal Shem Tov finished his story. And he looked back around at the crowd. And this time, he wasn't the one to faint. Because Reuven the miser was in the back of the crowd. And now his neshama had become aware of the entire story. And he realized that all he had to do was give one penny to Shimon, and he would have gone to Gan Eden. And instead, he lost his chance. He fainted. He had a heart attack. And he died right there on the spot. We don't know why we're here in this world. We don't know if we're a Gilgul neshama, and we don't really know what our purpose therefore is. It could be one chesed, it could be one Ameini Heshmi Rabbah, it could be one night seder that we're learning. It could be anything. Therefore, we have to work on everything. It's a tremendous incentive to work on everything. Because who knows what our real purpose in life is. Of course, we have to keep every mitzvah and do every mitzvah. But this could be an incentive to push us to try to do a little bit more. About 10 years ago, there was a young boy, Leiby Kletsky, who walked home from camp for the very first time alone. And unfortunately, we know, was kidnapped, murdered in an absolutely terrible way. The family had difficulty consoling themselves. People asked Rav Chaim Kanievsky to write them a letter. Rav Chaim wrote a letter where he said it must be that Leiby was a Gilgul neshama, and he had to complete the life of some person before. And once he accomplished that at age 9, 10 or so, his life was over. It must be. He was a special boy. It must be. It was just a tikkun for something that was missing from that neshama from a previous Gilgul. And Rav Moshe Meir Weiss at that time tried to explain to people a little bit more what that means, that a Gilgul can be coming back as a tikkun, and that that's a way that Gedolei Olam explained the death of young people. With a story that he told in one way, I found published in a slightly different way, and I'll try to mold the two together in order to make the point. The story is told that a childless woman once visited the Baal Shem Tov. I don't know why all stories have to do with the Baal Shem Tov and Gilgulim. Again, the Vilna Gaon, Chavetz Chaim, but that's the story. A childless woman came to the Baal Shem Tov begging for a bracha that she should have a child. The Baal Shem Tov kept putting her off. Eventually, he did give her the bracha. And she became pregnant. She had a beautiful baby boy. When the baby was 2 years old, and they noticed how special this baby was. From the day he was born, he looked special. He cried special. She came to the Baal Shem Tov right before he was going to stop nursing. And the Baal Shem Tov asked for his Gabbai to give him the baby. He held the baby, he kissed the baby, gave it back to the woman. And the woman went home, and the baby died. She ran back to the Baal Shem Tov and said, "You killed my baby." The Baal Shem Tov says, "You should not be crying. I would like to tell you the story of this baby's neshama." There was a king in some country that did not have children for many years. And he asked his counselors, "What should I do?" And the counselor said, "There's only one group of people who can daven for you so that the tefillah will come true and you have children. That's the Jews." So he said, "Fine, I'll give them a reward. If the Jews daven for me and I have children, no more taxes to Jews in my country." They said, "That's not going to do it. They're not going to daven so hard. Threaten to throw them out of the country, then they're going to daven really hard for you to have children." So he announced that to the Jewish people in that country. "Daven for me that I should have a son, and if I don't have a son by this and this time, I'm expelling you from the country." So the Jews davened, and the davening worked. There was the neshama that was up in Shemayim, that was very, very lofty, and said to the Ribono Shel Olam, "I'm willing to be sent down to the world below, to be a guy, to be the king's son, so I could save Klal Yisrael from their danger." And the neshama came down and became the son of the king. After the son of the king stopped nursing, he was around 2 years old, he was tremendously intelligent, and he just started reading everything that he could. At 2 years old, 3 years old, 4 years old. And eventually, after he read everything in the king's library at 6 or 7 years old, this super genius of a boy said to his father, the king, "I have nothing more to learn. Can you find someone to teach me?" So the father said, "Yes, the head priest of this kingdom knows a lot, he'll teach you." So he summoned the priest, and the priest said, "Look, I agree to do it under one condition. There's 2 hours every day that I'm privately ensconced in my room. Because during that time I go up to heaven, I have to speak to God, and during that time no one can come into the room, because if anyone sees me during that time, they're going to die. So I'll do everything teaching your son all the subjects that you want, but I need a private room that for 2 hours a day I'll be able to go up to God and speak to God in heaven." So the king said, "Sure, no problem whatsoever," and the priest started teaching this young, brilliant prince everything that he knew. By the time the prince was 9 or 10 years old, he knew everything that the priest had to teach him. And once again, he was bored. And he was also very curious. What exactly is the priest, my tutor, doing during those 2 hours every day? And he forged a key and was able one day, while the priest was in his room, he was able to open the door and peek inside. And when he peeked inside, he saw an incredible sight. The priest was wearing talis and tefillin and sitting and learning Gemara. And the priest almost fainted when his secret was discovered. And the prince said, "Don't worry, I just want to know what you're doing." And the priest said, "I'll teach you." And he started learning with him. He started with Aleph Beis, then went to Chumash, then went to Gemara. And over the course of time, the boy was brilliant, just picked up everything. By the time the boy was 15 years old, he said to the priest, "I can't live this life of a lie anymore. I need to convert." And the priest and he made some sort of a plan that the prince would tell the father, the king, "I can't ever take over your kingdom unless I know the kingdom. All I've been doing all my life is sitting and reading books here in the palace. I need to go out and see the country." And on his very first trip out of the country, he literally went out of the country. He left the king's country. And he found a country where there were Jews who were willing to convert him. And taking money with him from the palace, he was able to support himself the rest of his life quite nicely, and he just sat and learned, and he was a very big tzaddik. When this woman had come to the Baal Shem Tov to ask for a bracha to have a child, the Baal Shem Tov understood that this prince of a person was not just the son of a king, but he was a tremendous tzaddik Yisod Olam who gave up becoming a king in order to sit and learn with complete Yiras Shamayim as a Jew. He gave up so much. He knew that when this individual went up to Shamayim, his neshama would be completely pure, but that the Malachim would have some taina that there's nothing wrong with him at all. He's almost better than Adam and Rishon. There's got to be something that's wrong with him, and the only thing they were going to discover would be that for the first 2 years of his life, he was nursed by a non-Jewish queen. That needed a tikkun. You keep asking me for a bracha to have a child. I had to wait until the prince died. When the prince died, that neshama was able to come to you. And you, for the 2 years that this baby was alive as a baby, nursed this baby and was misaking, the one thing that was missing from this baby. And therefore, said the Baal Shem Tov, so why should you grieve? This baby was a sign of how great you are, that you are the one who was supposed to nurse such a lofty soul, the soul of this prince, for 2 years. These are stories about Gilgulim, but they mean a lot, because they do teach us lessons about life, afterlife, second life. Says the Chavetz Chaim, we may as well do tshuva now. Think about the first story and work on everything, because we don't know why we're here. We don't know what the purpose of our Gilgul is. And other Gedolim have said, today's day and age, almost all of us are Gilgulim. There's almost no such thing as an old neshama, as a first-time neshama. We're all old neshamas. So we all have things to work on. May as well do tshuva now, so that we don't have to go through the pain of death, kavura, and coming back. As Hashem, next time will be the third and final part of the series. We'll head all the way to the end of Sefer Yonah, after the saving of Nineveh, the story with the Kikayon that grew and died, and Yonah's response. Thank you all for coming.